Back to school legal tips. I'm Taylor Kaspar, owner and managing attorney of Legacy Estate Planning, where we help families make empowered choices about their finances so they can leave the legacy they truly deserve. So here are the back to school legal tips that all parents need to take care of, whether your child's in preschool or heading off to their last year of undergraduate education. And now, the recommendation for little kids is a little bit different than for that of our big kids, but we're going to take each in turn. So let me start with the big kids first. If anybody's a parent of a child over 18, whether or not they're in college or studying, taking a gap year, maybe doing some alternative education like certificate programs, or maybe even doing any of those types of things that young adults go out and do, you probably know, understand, and realize at this point in time that 18-year-olds are adults in name only. So they have all the legal rights and you lose all your legal rights over them once they turn 18, but they're not all ready to soar. So a lot of times we have parents asking us, how can I continue to support my child now that they're 18, continue to maybe get access to information about their grades, their living circumstances and situations, their health care, not because you're a nosy helicopter parent, but because you can't quite help them if you don't know what's going on. So a lot of parents are wanting to know how can they maintain some level of ability to step in when things need to be stepped in upon. And there are two documents that every parent of an 18-year-old and a young adult need to have. Number one is a power of attorney. That power of attorney document is one that's going to help or allow for you to make financial transactions and enter into contracts on behalf of your adult child. These can be very useful if your child goes away to school just as or leaves home and maybe they're out of state, but you're here locally where they still bank, where you may have insurances on their vehicle or their car, and you're here and you're going to be able to use that power of attorney document to make local transactions for them because they're off doing their thing, growing, learning, and expanding as they should. You also will find that when it comes time to help them fill out forms or enter into contracts, you're not going to be able to do that if you don't have some sort of power of attorney authority over them. So powers of attorney can be a very useful document to do just about anything you can think of financially, contractually, on behalf of your child who is now an adult while they're away, or just because they might need some assistance to learn how to even manage those things because you've probably been managing them up until this point. The other thing that we see parents want to know is, well, how can I keep making my kids' doctor's appointments? What about making sure they're getting to the dentist? What if they have an accident? How can I make decisions for them? And that is through a healthcare directive. This is a very useful document where you would be allowed to make health decisions for your child if they weren't able to make them for themselves. And this is also going to give you a right of access to information to their health records to whatever level is necessary for you to be able to do what it is that you need to do for them. Remember that healthcare directives are necessary for anyone over 18 if you're trying to make an appointment for them, order medical records, transfer appointments from one place to another, get prescriptions filled and ordered. All of that would require a healthcare directive. You being mom or dad, if they're over 18, is no longer worth anything to those institutions. Another thing we see is that, young adults have mental health challenges and needs just like anybody else. And so a lot of parents want to make sure that they're able to continue to make therapy appointments for their child, or maybe source new providers for their child if their child needs it in a new city or state. And, what we know sometimes about younger individuals is they're not always as quick to get these things done. And so rather than letting them lag behind, a lot of parents like to keep taking those steps for a child, and you would need a healthcare directive for any mental health things as well. Some other things that you should consider, which aren't legal documents that you're going to source from an attorney's office, but there are other steps that you should take maybe with your child's school. If your child goes off to college, you don't have a right of access to their school financial information or to their grades. And now a lot of times institutions and universities, certificate programs will have forms that you can fill out with that institution that is a release of information for things pertaining to your child. And your child can fill out that form, check the boxes off for what they want the parents to be able to access, be it grades, be it the ability to speak to the guidance counselor, check on their schedule and their attendance, whatever it is for that child that they want you to be able to continue to do. They can fill out that form with the institution, check the appropriate boxes, and you will be good to go. Many kids do want their parents to still be able to be involved in things like their financial aid, making sure that they're getting dollars to pay for their education. You might even have co-signed on some of those loans. So I bet you want to know about their financial aid packages and things that are available to them too. So those forms are really important for that reason. If you have little kids, you want to make sure that you've done your back to school work too. But for parents of younger kids, oftentimes that back to school work is making sure that you have a valid, still in full force and effect, temporary designation of standby custodian, or other name for a form we like to call a short-term guardianship nomination. These are very, very useful because this is how you're going to be able to have grandma or grandpa, aunt and uncle, or whomever that person may be, show up with their driver's license to pick a kid up from school at the last minute, make a medical appointment, or run a child to the urgent care or something like that if you're out of town with another child or can't be in all of the places, do all of the things by yourself. Of course, on top of that, you're going to want to fill out any applicable forms at your child's school, their dance studio, with the basketball coach, or what have you. But having these short-term guardianship nominations can be great for the ability to, take it to places where maybe you've forgotten to fill out the form or they didn't have a form for you readily available. These are something that we see a lot of when people are traveling or they're held up at work. I've been held up, I know, more times than I can count. To be able to send a parent who may not have made their way onto the pickup and drop off list that year because you forgot or whatever, over with a legal document that's notarized, binding, and valid to say, hey, I have authority for this child. I'm here to pick them up. Please release them to me. And schools are happy oftentimes to take those, even though it's not their regular form, because it has been notarized, signed, and that person can present their driver's license with it as well. So those are some legal considerations that you should be thinking about as you send those kids back to school. If you found value in this video, make sure that you like this video and subscribe to my channel so you never miss any updates from me, and check the description section below. We might have some goodies in there for you. Take care. Bye-bye.